All right. Let's go ahead and kick this off. What's really good, Pastors? Welcome to another episode of Love, War, Challenges. I am MTV Malik. He is Tyler Ladder. What's really good? Gang, 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 gang. Yeah, you haven't heard from us for a couple of weeks because I've been dealing with some health issues. I'm pretty sure it was just the flu, but man, it had me laid up, super laid up. I'm just now finally feeling normal. But so ready to kick off this final episode. Tyler, how
Mm,
you been?
I've been good. We kind of been doing that in my household and everything. I got my oldest is kind of not feeling good. My wife's starting not to feel good and everything. It's that new year, new sickness, whatever it is, something you haven't had in a while type thing. But overall, I mean, I'm pretty excited about talking about this episode. I understand it was season 40, so we kind of got this drawn out, and there's like a two-part reunion, which those are getting leaked everywhere online because the reunion happened a month ago. Which is going to be something that we should probably touch on because the problem with doing the reunion before the final, the edit, is that not everybody's going to see who gave him what karma points. Like, are we going to hear Bananas talk about Laurel and Leroy giving him ones? Like, things like that. But overall, I mean, I think there's going to be a lot of drama involved in it, and I mean, we're not going to touch on the reunion and everything. But it's just interesting to do a reunion
I might,
before everything's aired.
yeah, I might go back and watch it only because I don't really watch the reunions anymore. I've just grown just disinterested.
You
But
almost just use social media now and just go best clips from
yeah,
the reunion
exactly.
and then just see what
And
people post.
to wait for the clips, exactly.
Yeah.
All right, so to kick off season 40, the challenge Battle of the Eras, the winners are Jordan for the males, and it's split between Jenny and Rachel. So much to touch on
A lot of
because
controversy.
absolutely. But let's start off with the winners, and let's start on the male side
Mhm.
because males always go before the females. Males should be out in the front while the women are out in the kitchen.
No, 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 you can't. No.
I'm just playing. I am just playing.
Historically, historically, when there's men's and women's eliminations, the men do their elimination first, more times than not, is what you were implying to. TJ makes them
Yes.
go into the arena first. Um,
100% joking about the women thing. I just like to watch Tyler squirm as I say something crazy that he does not want to be attached to at all.
I will
Um,
sign up to be a stay-at-home dad any day of the week. Like,
if only. But back to the winners. Let's start with Jordan. Jordan gets, and you got to forgive me, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but this has to be at least his fifth win in the last 10 seasons. Does this win solidify Jordan as the male GOAT of the challenge?
so, a couple things we'll touch on and everything. So this is his fifth overall win when World Championships is included. Which to anybody that like argues like it's not the main show, it's not what they
We count
all.
them.
Here's my thing: if you are competing for money, it counts. That's how I look at it. So if that argument just expands to if people don't want to count the charity ones because it's for charity, I get it. Sure. Then again, Champs versus Stars 2 final looked pretty darn tough compared to some of these other finals that seasons 1 through 10 went through. But I digress. So Jordan has 5 challenge championships now. He is now the richest challenger ever, I believe. I think he's moved in number one just on earnings of wins. He has been on five, six, seven, 8 regular mainstay shows. He's been on a Champs versus Pros, All Stars, and World Champion. So total, if we're not counting charity, 10 seasons, 5 championships. That's efficiency. And on top of that, though, he has 2 more seasons that he has actually been in a final. But we talked about it last time. His partners kind of hindered him from doing really well. Um,
Still dragging me to
now,
a final. That's impressive.
yes. And
Impre-
this is the first time he's ever won a season without going into elimination. The very first time.
Yep, because I remember him saying before he's never won a season without going into elimination at least twice.
And when that happens, like I mean, I feel like especially I mean it's different for like CT because CT's a longer vet where he's in that mentality of like you never want to go in, like back in the day.
He's also
But
built like
then
a shit brick house.
right. But Jordan's in that mentality of like, well, I never win unless I go into elimination. I'm sure that's in his mind of like, I probably should go into one. Otherwise, I'm setting myself up for you know what I mean? So now to answer your question, yes, he is the greatest of all time to play this game. Efficiency speaks volumes. Just because you participate in the most seasons doesn't mean you're the best. Now, Jordan has went on record saying that Johnny Bananas is the GOAT of the challenge. He did this on Zach Nicholas' podcast recently. The reason why is because the game they play today is the game Johnny Bananas created with alliances. And granted, he was a role member when he first started, but those other guys are no longer here with us in the challenge world, so he gets credit for it. And so that's what he says. If you
You know what?
say,
Just to build off of that, I think that makes sense because I'm a huge LeBron fan, but I grew up with Jordan.
Mhm.
And even though it looks like LeBron is going to break all of these records, I say one of the reasons why LeBron can never be the greatest of all time because he can never do what Jordan did. Jordan took the NBA from being an American thing to a worldwide phenomenon, and that cannot be replicated by anybody ever. And unless this universe opens up and we got to take basketball to Mars, you know, Jordan's always going to have that position just because of how influential and how much he changed the game.
and yeah, 'cause, I mean, when we talk about that, we can do a small tangent and everything because I'm very passionate about this topic too. I don't even think LeBron's the most influential player from his era and generation type thing. I think Curry is the most influential, and when I say influential, it's like LeBron sells the most. LeBron's the most popular, but like who like changes games? You're talking about when we lose like Larry Bird, where we start seeing like, oh, these guys can shoot,
Yeah, no,
power
no,
forwards.
I
Jordan
definitely get what you're
changes the
saying,
game. Yeah, and
but a
yeah.
lot of people are going to argue that it may not have been a good change.
No, and I agree. People would argue, but
But
anyways, back
change
to
is
the point.
change.
Change is
It's a
change.
copycat league.
It's always going to happen. Now back to the hand. If anybody ever says, if they're like, I think the goat is Jordan, Bananas, CT, I will never argue with anybody because I'm okay with it rotating. The real conversation that people need to have is who's number 4 on your Mount Rushmore because
Mm.
that changes. Some people say Darrell because he won a bunch of, what do they call backyard games in the day, some ring toss, some cornhole games for championships. All jokes aside, some people say Landon because he was so dominant and efficient. I argue Wes because Wes has changed the political game on how you play the game before the game even starts. So there are different layers to this. I think from now on your top 3 is solidified. I don't think that is going to change for another 10 years.
I,
Like,
I love that you said that. The top three for the challenge is solidified with
mhm.
Bananas, CT, and Jordan. And I'm not a huge Jordan fan, mainly because of a whole bunch of other stuff. Everything I dislike about Jordan has nothing to do with how he plays this game. I
No,
think
it's just what happened to him when he was 23 years old on Real World Portland. Like that's
exactly. And if you're a grown person, you want to grant people some grace for how they behaved when they were younger. I was very cautious and looked at it very warily for a long time. I mean, for a long time. And even when him and Naya was on the whole apology tour, I was just like, oh, it just shows how smart he is. He's just trying to change his image. But at some point, maybe you got to give him the benefit of the doubt. Maybe there is some growth there. Um, and if I'm based off what I'm able to see on TV, it does show that. So let's give him some grace. Congratulations on the great win. I want to move it over to the female side.
well, before you do, so I just want to say one thing. There's one question I need to ask you.
Yes.
Is Jordan done with the challenge until we get these big like he said I'll see you on season
No.
50.
Oh
He
no,
wants
no,
he
no.
wants to be a pro race car driver.
Here,
He's those guys don't race long. He's in his 30s.
here goes the thing. Yeah, but also as great as he is in the challenge, that has not translated well to his racing.
Right.
He has a lot to go into racing. Do I think he's done with the challenge? Absolutely not. Not only was this a win for Jordan, it was a freaking blowout. No, it wasn't even close. He's not done with the challenge because you know what? He likes being dominant. He wants to put his foot on some people's necks. He sees Banana's 7 wins in his grasp, and I don't think he stops until he beats him out.
Here's where we'll get into this interesting thing. I think when we talk about the greatest of all time, I think Jordan is the greatest finals performer of all time. Like I think in finals, like he's won with partners. He's won individually. He's won with running. He's won with swimming. He's won after crashing out of a plane. You know, it's in finals. He's just a different beast.
Yeah, that light switch of his is just completely different from what everybody else has.
Yeah. But
So
let's
yeah,
go ahead and talk, let's get a little more controversial and let's talk
now,
about the women.
so on the women's side, the number one spot is split between Jenny and Rachel.
Mhm.
Do you think do you think Rachel's second place finish was stolen?
Michelle's second place finish.
I'm sorry. Well, yes,
Because
I
yeah.
worded it wrong. Do you think Rachel's first place finish was stolen?
So here's what I think. I think with this, like Jenny didn't get sole possession of first. Michelle fell from second to third. Rachel moves from third to first. There's a lot of arguments on who it affects. What's the right thing? Here's if you look at any major sports, any tournaments, any competitions, anywhere you go, if there's a tie to position, there's no second place after first. It skips to third. If you had five people, if all four of them tied for first, they would have shared all first place money and nobody would have gotten second, third, or fourth. That's just how it goes. Um, the big thing with this is like telling Michelle that she was a point off right after. I think was you shouldn't have done. Like it was very close, but Michelle, you got third. Like don't tell her like you were 1 point away, which tells her if she would have made up 10 seconds on one leg, she
Yeah.
wins as well. But what I will say though is that if we're gonna talk, I know we're not talking about later. We'll talk to them. But I think this kind of showed that anybody really can compete with anybody. That's the great thing about these finals. I think Jenny dominated even with her breaking point. She still dominated. And Rachel, getting into first, there's always going to be an asterisk next to it. However, you can't hate on somebody for being well liked by everybody. Like, that's not her fault. Because if she doesn't even think about it, she went into what, 2, 3 eliminations? If she
Right.
gets eliminated, all those karma votes don't even matter, and somebody else gets in there and doesn't, and then maybe Michelle ends up winning the whole thing. Like,
I do believe Jenny won this final. Of course, like we said before, a win is a win is a win. I
right.
wouldn't take that away. I still count it. But yeah, it doesn't it doesn't sit right. It doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel like this is how it should be. And anytime the fans feel that way, then I think that's a failure on production. And I think that's a failure on this thing that they bought in called the karma points, which is a thing I want to discuss next. Karma points is one of the worst additions I've seen. For the male side, it went the way I wanted it to go. It was
Mhm.
nice to mention, but it didn't really change anything. On the women's side, because it was such a tight race, it was felt heavily. It feels like Michelle might have gotten screwed a little bit. It feels like Rachel got a huge boost. Um, I don't like the fact that the winner's fate is placed in the hands of the defeated. I get the concept. It works really well in Big Brother, and I think they do something like that in Survivor also.
Well,
But
the jury that gets voted out picks the winner eventually. So it's like what's your jury management with those you're voting out? How well do you? And it's a different game.
it's
And so
it's
yeah,
CBS and Paramount's hands all over this, and it doesn't feel right. Those work for those formats and those games. It feels foreign here. It's misplaced here. It doesn't belong here. Go back to your own show. We don't like your kind around here.
well, okay. Well, I mean, I do
I
like
just got
Survivor.
racist on the
Big Brother,
format.
sure. Yeah, yeah. Um, you just put a seating order for everybody. That's pretty harsh. But anyways, your points they're not wrong. And it
when am, listen, when am I ever wrong?
politically incorrect sometimes would be
Fair
the
enough.
here's the thing though. If we take it at hand of this isn't the first time that we've heard, TJ say something that's going to affect you later on. You know what I mean? Where he's like, the way you treat people matters. We could also look at this the other way and go, well, ever since he's really been talking about that, look at every episode that Rachel didn't win a daily. What did she do? She's talking to the winners. She's making deals. She's becoming friends with blah, blah, blah. She's creating alliances. She's on both sides of the fence. She was working overtime politically and
Politically,
socially to
she
win the
played
game.
one of the best lone wolf games I
The
have ever
best, the
seen.
best.
I mean, yeah, the best. I was every second watching her work, I just grew more and more impressed. And on top of that, she can compete her ass off. She said before, like, I want to be competing against the men. She's like, I beat all the other men, and that's good enough
Well,
for me. Yeah,
the
but
editing wasn't very nice because as soon as she was saying that, she fell all the way to the back.
yeah, but still, it's nice to see she's easy to root for.
Yes, for people that are relatively new to the challenge, I think so. I think if you go back to like Inferno 2 and the
Yeah,
Mean Girls
the Mean
aspect,
Girl era.
it is hard. But then again, that's where we talk about with Jordan. We're talking about growth. Rachel was just a young, 20 some, lesbian in the early 2000s, just, being a rebel at times, you
Big,
could say, going
you know
against
what?
the grind.
I,
And
I'm
now
even
she's a
inclined to
mom,
say,
she's matured.
I'm even inclined to say that she exhibited a lot of the same behaviors that we seen from the men, but because it's
Yeah.
coming from men, it seems okay. If it's coming from women, then you're a mean girl, and that's looked down on.
And I think what we really need to look at is like her growth. I'm sure, like, I mean, everybody, like, if you ask, probably not bananas, but if you ask them when they're like, older, do you regret some of these things? They'll be like, yeah, I
Oh
wish I
yeah,
wouldn't have done that. I've
my
grown as a person.
my early 20s,
Um,
I was a scumbag. So
right. Yeah. And, still am a little bit, but it's whatever, it's just, but, anyways, I think here's the thing. She played the game really well, and she didn't know that it was going to benefit her as well as it did. But the way she played the game is why she got first place. And if you look at it though, Rachel also wasn't failing at every checkpoint in the final. She was coming in first, second, third. She was performing well. She was right there with everybody. If Jenny doesn't get last place on the very last leg, Jenny's a sole winner. But Jenny got last place. So that's her own, and one leg affected it. If Jenny miscounts her coins by 10, she gets last place and loses the final. It's if Tori somehow doesn't take an extra 4 hours to count her coins and adds 1,000 or whatever, Tori beats Jenny and Jenny loses. You know what I mean? So it's like there's so many different factors. It's like Jenny could have easily ran away with this. And then she faltered in two major checkpoints that Rachel excelled in. And that didn't appear. Now, Michelle, we'll get to her, does suck, but yeah, your first final.
yeah, a little bit less sympathy. Um, Jenny wins back to back. Impressed?
Very impressed. I mean, she showed, and it's different elements. We're talking swimming, heat versus the
All
cold
around stuff.
elements. And she dominated both of them. I mean, granted, they're trying to really make it out to be like the women are outperforming all the men and everything. I think Jordan was still ahead of everybody. And I think Jordan was like, I'll wait for you, Jenny. Like, come on, let's finish together. Like, that's what, or Rachel, like, that's what I feel like. But overall, I mean, it really seemed dominant. Outside of the counting coins in the very last checkpoint, it seemed like everything was just flawless at. And her endurance surprised me, especially because we were talking about her asthma this whole time. And I guess
Right.
I don't know how asthma affects you swimming versus running, but
Well, it's the same thing. It makes you feel tired. Your breaths are shorter. Can't get that the oxygen in that you need. And and that was a big thing that a lot of people was worried about. How is her endurance is going to hold up? And even though she's big and she's strong, her physicality, especially when it comes to things with contact, has been called into question when we seen Tori, truck stick her right through
mhm.
a hull brawl. So very impressed. This required you to be good at a lot of different things. It required you thinking on your feet and to get a lead and to hold it. I thought she did very well. Very impressed.
I mean, yeah, she's been on 3 seasons. She's won two of them. She's 5-1 in eliminations.
That's
Uh,
Jordan type efficiency.
she's won $737,000 in 2 wins.
I think
Like,
we need to see more of her, a lot more.
it just depends. She's 38 already. Like, so she's there in age. Yeah, I saw this TikTok and I already kind of knew this because I've been looking. Like, Johnny Bananas is older than Rachel, but Rachel was on like 4 seasons of the challenge before Johnny was on Real World. But yeah, Jenny's 38. So it's like, I don't know if she wants to keep doing this. Because I mean, look at the gap. We had a 5 season gap between her last appearance. But then again,
Mm.
she's been an alternate, I think, a couple times. So it's like, what could have been. Like, why wasn't she on Ride or Dies with her twin sister? Like, why not? That
Right.
would have made.
That would have been great. And I know we discussed this earlier off camera, but yeah, if you guys hear my dog, listen. A hurricane took down our fence. They're putting it up in the backyard. Dog's in a crate. Hates it. Uh, you're just gonna have to deal with it.
Yeah.
Now, I want to move on into some of the competitors and how they competed during this final. Let's start off with the last placers, Kylan and Tori. Let's start with the ladies this time.
So
For
really, oh, sorry. I thought you were opening the door for me.
no,
I was
no, no,
gonna lead you into talking about it.
so I'm gonna start off with Tori over Kylan because with Tori's performance, I think she said it best. Very disappointing. She just recently got a win. She wants to compete with the best of the best. She wants her name to ring out. Um, but you're not going to do that by coming in and shitting the bed during the final. I do know her and Rachel's numbers wasn't too far off or anything too crazy, but you got to be able to hold your own. In fact, this is the kind of final where she is supposed to be really kind of leading the pack, and everybody's kind of supposed to be looking up to her, and she just falls by the wayside, and it just wasn't a great look. I don't think this is going to affect her long term. Hopefully, this is something she can learn from and just get better at. She played a really, really well season, but when it came to the final, just didn't have what it took.
I mean, she's been to 5 consecutive finals, like 5 consecutive. I
That's
mean,
career type
we might,
efficiency.
that's what I'm saying. We might have to relook at the numbers of how many episodes, because I mean, she literally was on Spies, Lies, and Allies. Then she won Ride or Dies. Then she was on USA 2 final, then World Champions final, then
You think
Battle
she
of the
takes a
Eras
break for
final.
41?
I think she takes a break for 41. I think for
It seems like
sure.
a good time to take a break.
I think if we see Tori back, it'll be like on like season 43. I think it'll give us her time to kind of do her own thing. I mean, obviously somebody was talking about it. I think it was Kellyanne. Like she's making money elsewhere. She's fine. But here's the thing I want to ask: like that final elimination, 2.5, 3 hours in the water,
Definitely
drained.
took a toll.
That
Definitely took a
had
toll.
it had to have, because the thing was like it was mainly just she was getting the swimming portion. She was just getting there after everybody. That's all it really was. Like if you think about it, if it was like do your puzzle then swim, I wonder how everybody performs. Like if it was reversed instead of just like swim puzzle swim, if it was like do your puzzle, swim this long distance to the boat. Like how does everybody stack up on the female side? Because that's I mean, if you think about it, if Tori's showing up and Jenny's already halfway through her puzzle, well, of course she's not going to beat her. You know, she was a slower swimmer. So I think the endurance really affected her. That's just
Plus,
me. But
swimming is exhausting. It's one of the more exhausting things that you can do. So
mhm.
I think that added a layer of exhaustion to this challenge that's hard to visualize on screen, you know?
And if we want to talk about like continuing to do it and continue to try and be great, I just talked about it. Tori's going to be 32 pretty soon. That's it. I mean, she has 6 years, to catch Jenny to get two. We didn't talk about this. We didn't say this earlier. Rachel joined the trifecta club as well by being a
Oh
three-time
yeah.
winner now.
Congrats,
And
Rachel, three-time champ.
so she is now the fourth female to join that group. When we include, because obviously Cara Maria has the champs versus pros. But yeah, so pretty cool addition. But yeah, overall, I think Tori's fine. We can talk about the disappointment and of Kylan, and what I really like is that Kylan got humbled so
Yes.
much.
And I like Colin more than I don't. I think he's a good addition. I'm happy he's here. He's
Yeah,
good to see. I think he brings a lot of great qualities to the house. Colin, I think I I I vibe with him on the level that he's a student of the game. He studied the
mhm,
challenge. He's a challenge fan. And I think he looks at the game in a lot of ways how I would look at it. So, strategically, if I do this and I do this, and then it should pay out this way. And then once you go thrown in the house with all these crazy people who are unpredictable with alcohol, guess what? Shit changes. And then when you
yeah.
get dropped in the water and have to swim against Jordan, all that quantifying, all that planning goes right out the window. Um, I think it's his first final.
Again, I don't feel
I think
bad
that
for him.
first
First
final.
final,
Most people do not win their first final. For most people, a final is a
Johnny
good.
Bananas, Jordan, CT, Wes. I mean, none of them won their first final. So you know,
West
yeah, he made it was on Fresh Meat.
first three. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and then he won his second season, which was the duel.
Dude,
Yeah.
right? Okay. Oh
Yeah.
God, if
Yeah.
I
The
was wrong,
duel.
that
Yep.
was yeah. If I was wrong, that would suck. Um,
Yeah, that one was in Brazil. He beat Brad, but technically
yeah, it
Brad ran
was
faster.
simple, great T-shirts.
Yeah, really,
It's just like
I
here goes a
agree.
T-shirt with a flag of Brazil on it. Fuck out of
And you
here.
this color, yeah.
um, I thought he did pretty well. That first fight was going to be a smack in the face.
Hmm.
I'm pretty sure he learned a lot about what time it really, really is. He'll be fine, but I wasn't impressed by anything he did,
I,
except that he finished.
Here's the big thing. I think that he realized. I mean, he seems to be a guy that really loves the challenge as well. Like he seems to be a big fan of it as well, like us. And he's going to study this season. And when he rewatches it, or when he was watching it, I'm sure he's like, man, Jordan fooled me. Every time I was just ahead of him, he was just sitting behind me, making me feel good that I could do this and everything. And then we get when the money's going, and he's gone. And so, because Jordan talked about that a couple of times, like, I just let you guys. I want you guys to smell me. I want you guys to feel me behind you. I want you to know I'm there. You can go ahead and be in front. I think he's going to study it. I think he's going to work on his endurance. Um, Overall, though, Kylan is a guy again, 33 though, but he's still a guy that I think is going to, until they don't ask him. I think he will be back every season until he
100%.
gets a win.
He just had to perform a lot better. He didn't
Yeah,
win any checkpoints. I think he only came. I think his
he came
highest
in
was like third
third
place.
once.
Yeah,
It
and
was the
yeah,
math one.
and I'm pretty sure everything else, like yeah, like he came in third once. One he didn't lose, and I think he came in last in every single thing. So
Mhm.
not a great performance, but I'll give him. I'll shoot him some bail. It's your first final. Swimming's hard. We get it. You're going against Jordan and Bananas and a very sneakily capable Derek. So I'm not going to knock him too much, but
Yeah.
yeah, we got to see better out of you. What's a nice derogatory term I could use? Sport. We got to do much
Yeah.
better. Sport. There you go.
He can't use champ. So,
Yeah,
um,
that was initially where I was leading too.
from fourth place to third, let's talk about the lovely couple of Michelle and Johnny Bananas
Okay, I'm gonna
rivalry.
start with Bananas because Bananas is gonna be a little bit easier.
Hmm.
Um, Bananas came in third place. Not bad, old man. You still got it. But Bananas, you're Tiger Woods, all-time great. But ain't nobody scared of you anymore. Nobody's scared of you in the final. Nobody's scared to say your name to throw you into elimination. It's a great run. He still has a magical ability to get people to do what he wants. And Jesus, that power alone makes him so great in the house and it gives him such a crazy amount of power. But we've seen a whole house turn against him at the drop of a dime. I thought a third place finish for him was really great. I thought a second place finish would have been more appropriate. But you know what? His girls got to split first, and that has to feel good. I
Yeah.
also think that that is going to buy him a lot of currency in the future. Hey, I'm a
It,
good friend. Look how I hold it down. Look where you can place just looking out for me when I look out for you.
Here's the thing. His biggest problem is that he still has the like arrogance and the attitude towards other people as if he did when he first started. Of just like, if you say something wrong, I'm gonna clap back. Versus like we kind of see Jordan now where Jordan like sees something and people are like mad at him and he just kind of is like, okay, I understand, and then just like talks to somebody else. He was solo. The thing is that Johnny Bananas is slowly, he actually might even be there. He's just morphed into a less likable Mark Long is what he's turned into. Of like, he's got allies. Yeah, you can go to the
but
final. You'll get
but
third or
that's
fourth.
a
No
major
big
thing too.
deal.
He doesn't command the alliances like he used to. This
Right.
was
And I
way
think,
easier to do. We had 11 people who would never say your name.
but if you think
Much
about
harder to
how,
do when you only have 4 or 5.
when you're talking about the comment of like, nobody really wants to like, nobody cares if he's in a final. Nobody really worries. They're not scared of him. The females all wanted him in the final. They wanted him to be their partner. So it's like there is an aspect of like he still has that gusto. I mean, we just saw it, and he's coming off what? Obviously, World Championship. He didn't make the final, but he was in final of USA 2. He was in the final of Ride or Dies. Now he's in Battle of the Eras. I think that's 3 straight seasons of being in a final.
That's 3 straight seasons of losses.
Right,
And we haven't
right.
seen that from him yet. Even in his earlier seasons, I don't think he went more than 2.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, well, he had a stretch. He didn't win from Rivals 3 to Total Madness, which was like season 28 to 35 was his
Yeah, but
biggest
he
gap.
wasn't in the finals, right?
And he was in no finals from season 29 to season 34. He didn't make a single final.
Ooh, it's a nasty stretch. Then again, when you've been playing as long as he does, it's
Was
kind of
just
to be
always a
expected.
threat. That's the thing. He's always a threat. Like, and it's
Oh,
uh
absolutely. And if Jordan wasn't so dominant, he could have been a threat in this final too. But
I saw somebody make comment that if Jordan didn't make the final, they think Bananas would have pushed himself a little harder. But I think
I think so too.
somebody said that he saw the writing on the wall.
Oh, 100%. I thought he checked out. I would say as soon as they started at the third, maybe the third time they started singing that song while counting coins, he was just like, "Fuck out of here." I don't think he was giving it his all.
Can we touch on that a little bit on how right I feel like I was of just like just put all the coins in, just kind of guess and then
Get some
get more
sleep.
sleep. And it might because think about it how much that impacted like Tori. Like Tori stayed up so much longer. She got last place even though she was up the longest. Her
Yeah,
count was and
that has
so
to suck. That has to suck. Yeah, I thought Bananas very much checked out early and was.
yeah.
I mean, think about it. If you're in the middle of a final, does jumping out off of the boat and landing in the water and having to swim and climb back up wet, is that worth the extra energy in a final?
I think it
No,
was
you would.
just
It
I
was
think it was
funny.
yeah, it was funny, but I think the mindset was don't lose to Kylan. Like don't get last. I think that's
Right.
where he was settled. He's like, if I get second or third, I'm cool. But I think also when they said the karma points were gonna affect, I think that
Yeah, as
mentally
soon as
checked
they
him
karma
out
points,
too.
he's like, yeah, it's a wrap. He made too many enemies during the season and throughout.
So now let's talk about Michelle. Third place, she did really well. I think I still see people that are talking smack about her on social media and
No,
everything.
no,
Dude, she
she
earned her
showed up.
keep.
She showed up. She played well. She did great politically. She had to go into the arena. I feel like she played such a good season. She became a target so many times. And as a target, you have to name other targets. I think that greatly affected her karma points. I almost
Mhm,
feels, and don't get me wrong, do I think it's intentional? No. But it feels like this season was rigged against her for a lot of those reasons. A lot of
mhm.
those just format reasons that everybody has to deal with affected her more negatively. And there wasn't a whole lot she could do about that. She was targeted, which made her a target. She had to pick other people as targets and made enemies along the way. It heavily affected her karma vote. I feel super bad for Michelle because she should be having a second place finish.
But
But also, first final,
there was a
she'll be all
couple
right.
times if she just didn't get last place or didn't get third place and she moved up one spot, there's three winners. Like
I think she needs a little bit more on her killer switch, just a little bit. But very impressed by how she played this season. Very impressed by how she
mhm,
competed in the final. She really does have that dog in her. I don't, I know some people are still kind of we approach people from Survivor and outside of the challenge with a little bit of caution. But let me tell you something. Michelle is with the shits.
Michelle played a very Cara Maria game, like back against the wall
Mm,
most of the time. People that you think you're working with actually backstab you and you're not working with. And you know what? And here's the big thing too. Think about going through a season where like your friends are not like they're trying to kind of turn on you, and then like you have this relationship that to this day right now they are still together, guys. They have been together for like over 6 months, almost a year, I think. And that relationship's constantly getting trashed on. It even gets trashed. I see a clip. Amanda trashes it at the reunion, a month back. And it's like you're dealing with those emotional and things, and then you're going to eliminations constantly. Those physical tolls. She played a really good game considering everything she had to go against.
played it really well. Played it really well. Very impressed by Michelle. We should see a whole lot of her coming up. Um, Derek, second place finish. I
From
could sit
from
here all
first
day.
one out on season 20 to second place finish on season 40.
I mean, like his first 3 or 4 seasons, he was out pretty early. He
Um,
said himself. He said that somebody told him that like you're just here to go out early.
mhm. Yeah, he went out on episode one on his first season. Now, granted, his next season he made it to the final elimination, but it was a teams challenge when it was Battle of the Seasons. But then he comes back the very next one and he's out on the third episode in Rivals 2 and All Stars 2. He's out in the second episode. And then All Stars 4, we finally see him push through. Battle of the Seasons, we see him push through. And the whole time he's just talking about, he's like, I just want to show everybody I can do this. Like, I can do
And you know
this.
what? If that was his goal, he has succeeded.
Mhm.
Second place, and not just second place over Jordan, over a hyped up Kylan, and second
over
only over
over
bananas,
banana over
and
bananas.
second only to Jordan.
Yeah,
Dude, dude. All reality, there's not a whole lot to discuss here. I think the only way to look at this is for Derek is hugely, hugely successful. Such a great season. Such an easy guy
he
to root
even
for.
yeah, and he even won a leg of the final two.
hmm let me see. And I know his karma points had to be
He was
banging
first.
too,
He was first.
easily.
You know what's crazy?
Um,
So I believe that if Derek and Jordan would have tied for first, just like the women did, I don't think people would have been mad because I think Derek is more likable than Rachel.
Not at all. I wouldn't have been mad. Um,
I
and
don't,
that
I
makes
don't,
sense
I don't,
with
I don't think
how
the public
likable.
would have been mad. I'm just saying, like,
I
I
don't
feel
think
like
so either.
everybody was rooting for Derek really, really like a lot. I do think I will say this: if this was a running final, I think Derek would have been able to bridge the gap on Jordan more because I think Derek's a much better runner. I think Jordan's still a better runner than him, but Derek's a much better runner than he is swimmer, and he still came in second place. And so,
Place to Jordan, bro.
you know
Fucking
what's crazy
nice.
is if Derek wouldn't have won that final elimination, Corey would have got another second place finish probably, like another one. But then another somebody else talked about it. What if they actually put Jordan in early and it was Corey in this final instead of Jordan? Derek might have won a final, or Corey would have won a final.
Yeah. Oh man,
Crazy, right?
those what ifs. And now, so let's go ahead and get your final thoughts on this final overall. What you thought about the format, what things we would change. I'm gonna go first because it's really easy for me. I like the swimming, but it was too swim heavy. You could do swim heavy on the first day, but put it back on land for the second day and make them climb a mountain. I miss the races to the checkpoints. They've done this thing where there's like a home base. You got to go out, do stuff, go out and do
Mhm.
stuff, come back, and it's worked on some seasons. This was not one of them. It didn't really feel that great. I didn't think they did a great job at building the sense of urgency. Swimming looks cool sometimes, but it's not the greatest thing to film. Even though when they pulled up on the beach with the clear water and stuff, that was pretty dope to watch. I thought they did a lot of things right. I think they did things as well as they could have, but I thought the
Yeah.
whole format overall and with the karma vote hanging on. I mean, just the mere mention of the karma vote took your greatest challenge champion in bananas and made him just clock the fuck out.
Yeah, I think that the biggest thing too is like because we hear people complain about like eliminations and everything like I just want them all to be headbangers and everything. And it's like I think I'm a different challenge fan because I am just like I just like the challenge. I just like watching it. I don't care what happens. I don't care who's on it. I don't care what the dailies are with the finalists. I just want to watch the challenge. Now I do critique it. Like I do think that a final should be a balance. I think you should have swimming. I think you should have running. I think you should have climbing. I think you should have rowing if you can. And and I think that you should have an overnight as like your fifth, those are your 5 points. If those 5 points are hit, then I think it's like a perfect final. But we don't see that very often. It's a very rare thing to see, you know. And I can't even tell you what the best final ever is. Like that I thought was the most fun to watch, because
I,
they all
I will
have
say
pros and
this about the
cons.
final. I'm so happy there wasn't eating. They got there like, oh wait, it's just coconut water, which is actually a great idea. Like
I saw
coconut
somebody
water,
say they were mad about it. Somebody was mad there was no eating.
that person should be in jail.
The
That
problem
person
is that with
is a criminal.
eating, there's no punishment to throwing up. Like if you threw up and they were like, all right, as soon as the last person's done, you have a 3-minute penalty before you can go. Like that
I
would make
also
more
don't want to.
sense.
I don't want to sit here and watch jacked guys and hot girls puke into a trash can. Like,
Yeah, but there's something about Rivals 2 CT just throwing up and everybody's face is just like, what was that?
you know what happened? We have grown up. We don't need it anymore. We don't need the
That's
puke.
true. That's
We've
true. We
grown.
don't need Jackass anymore.
And
We
you know
don't
what?
need
You know how to wait. I will say this. That last Jackass movie was pretty funny.
Yeah, it was. No, but it might but
But
you're
but
right.
but we
There's
don't need it.
growth. There's growth. I will say this season we didn't get any new winners, which is kind of like a bummer just
It
because
is.
I've been like wanting to put together this fantasy cast of redoing the ruins because I think it's such a tainted season that we need a newer version, and I think a newer version of the ruins would help the challengers more than it did back in the party days where the challengers didn't know how to clock in, where now they would, you know. But I will say this. So since the last 10 seasons, since 31 to 40, we have had 10 new champions, first time champions in that time frame. But that's also been littered with Jordan winning a couple times, Bananas winning a couple times, CT winning a couple times.
And a couple of winners that we've just never seen back, like
Yeah.
a D or a
Well, I
Rogan.
mean, we haven't seen D since. We haven't seen. Well, that's just. I think just D. We haven't seen Rogan back. We haven't seen Hunter back. We briefly saw Turbo. So I mean, it's yeah. There's we Amber. We didn't. Amber's coming back now, but she was gone because she was pregnant and everything. So
Fucking love Amber
she's gonna be
so
back,
much.
man. And now she has to deal with Fessy the whole time. But we'll talk
She
about that
deserves
later.
she deserves so much better.
So
Well,
overall, karma points probably should go. I like the concept. I like trying new things. I love new things. Um, and I
yeah, I'm
think,
not mad at it.
well, and also here's another thing. I saw somebody complain about this. They were like, the season was so boring. There was no twists. It was so
I'm on the same
predictable. And
boat.
I was like, every time somebody went into elimination and won, they got to pick 3 targets. And then everybody else was like kind of safe. Like that's a big twist in Swerve. Like if you get last place, you're punished on the next daily. That's a huge twist. Like that
I will
impacts the game.
listen. Overall, it was a good season.
It
Is
was.
it one of the greats? No, but they
It's
tried some
too
different
long.
things.
That's why.
It was a
If
little long.
if this was like 4 episodes shorter, it would be one of
It
the
was
best
a little
seasons.
long.
But here's the problem. We do season 40. You want 40 people on it. It's going to draw out. A
Yeah,
lot of
exactly.
favorites are going to go home early.
I think it's going to drop back down to a more, manageable, 32 contestants, and it'll help speed things up.
We have 26 on All Stars 5. We have 13 pairs.
Oh yeah,
That's it.
and that's fine. But also I think going individual really, really hurt this season. It just
Mm.
it going individual is the thing that dragged this thing on. Could have
Yep.
kept the team format. I don't think going individual, and we saw that going individual thing coming. I don't think it was great. I think everybody should have stuck with the errors, and we might have been, and if we did that, and we have a team final, which not sure how I would feel about that. I don't know. I think a team final during the team season is okay. Who knows? We could have gotten four champs this time
Well, I don't
around.
know how well Rachel would have done in a team final, but
Hey, listen, your
yeah.
team should have stuck around longer. But then
But no,
again, if she's doing a whole bunch of fast times, you ain't got 3 other people to slow you down.
that's true. Overall, though, I think it's still a really good season. We have to take the positives of what this is. We had a historic, celebration season of season 40 being a landmark season. We get to see so many names that we haven't seen in a long time, people coming back, a lot of fan favorites. Sure, we talked about it preseason. There's 5 people we probably could have added to make it even better, but we got a dominant champion of somebody that earned it. We got a returning champion from a long time ago. We got an underdog that almost won it. We had people overcoming multiple eliminations. We had friends going against each other in elimination. We had
This season had
upsets.
everything we look for.
It had
Everything we was
everything we
looking
looked
for.
for.
And they brought back your old school faves. Your people, you wanted your Caras here, you wanted your Polos here. Here, your Polies here. Here you go.
You want to talk about stuff people don't like? When people are like, "Oh, free agents, the best." CT goes home in a puzzle, and some people
Yeah.
didn't. And Johnny Riley didn't have to even go into elimination, and he's gone. We saw Cara Maria breaks her hand and has to go in
And
a
it's
wall
over.
challenge. Frank gets sent home because he's sick. Like that season's one of the
Oh my
greatest
God. If
seasons.
Frank stays in free agents, oh, that's probably one of my greatest what ifs. If Frank is
Right.
sticking
And I mean, and that season is so revered as one of the best seasons. And it's like,
you, you know what that season really, really had a lot of? It had a lot of fun. Had
mhm,
a lot of fun. And the challenge really should focus on bringing that
yeah.
back to some degree too.
Everybody talks about, Dirty 30 is such a great season. Camilla was racist on it and won. That's always there. Like, we don't even get a redemption of like, she was out, Leroy was victorious, like nothing.
To be honest, 30 was a pretty great season.
It was a great season.
It was a great season.
It was a great season, but there are
Also
blemishes.
long as shit, but so many great things. So many great things.
Yeah.
But man, one more season down the hatch, Tyler. Yeah,
One more season.
we got at least one more in us.
We've got a revolutionary one in us. Yeah. Yeah, because we're gonna change the game a little bit, right? We're gonna put some more stuff out there.
Yes, I thought also I thought I had a little bit more time to get all of that stuff in, and like All Stars 5 is right around the corner, so
Yeah,
that
we got
might
like
happen
2 weeks.
during. No, I'm gonna be busy.
We'll figure it
Like,
out.
yo, think about it, man. I work 100 hours a week, and I have a dog that won't shut up. A whole bunch of kids. Man,
Well,
squaring away 2-3 hours like for passion projects,
mhm,
such a pain in the ass. Oh, also,
yeah.
I'm married. Allegedly. No, no, no. I'm married, and she wants me to spend time with her. Um. Also, big shout out to Caitlin. Happy birthday, Caitlin. I know it just passed the other day. Um, wishing you all the best. Hope you get to see Taylor Swift at concert again. Big happy birthday shout out to you. But that's it for me until it's time to go over All Stars 5 next week. Tyler, got anything before we go?
Next time you guys see us, we'll be talking about Vietnam again. We're going right back.
Is it in Vietnam?
It's right. It's in Vietnam. It
That's
is.
smart. I bet you some people just stayed over from the
It's in
season.
the same. Well, I mean, who was on the season that? Leroy, Devin. Gosh, who else? I don't even know who else was still on this season. Kellyanne, Katie. So probably what they did. They were like, John A. Interesting tidbit. We talk about there's 26 people on this next season. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Only 10 men, 16 women. Interesting. It's it
That
right?
is
Isn't
interesting. I always, I don't know. I always feel some kind of way about the girl pairs sometimes. Especially competing against other mixed ones. But we'll see if that's going to be something that hinders them. But once again, thank you guys all for watching. Thank you all for listening. Make sure you follow us on Twitter at LWC Podcast. Follow us on Facebook and TikTok at Love War Challenges. Seeing you on Facebook too, Tyler. Keep
yeah,
keep doing
there's
your thing.
little things up there, yeah.
Make sure you listen to Love What Challenge podcast on Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or your favorite podcast app. Once again, I am MTV Malik. He is Tyler Louder. This is Love War Challenges. Good day.